All right, our next question.
Hi, Lee.
Hi.
You have been a part of so many iconic TV shows, starting with Big Valley, and I was wondering if you could say a few words about how each show impacted your career.
Well, I was very lucky to be amongst about 300 guys that went out and auditioned for the Big Valley and narrowed it down to about 3 of us. I think it was Burt Reynolds, a couple of other young, Dennis Hopper, and another young guy. And so anyway, I had to do 2 screen tests, and I did those. And they asked me to do a 3rd one with this young lady that possibly could play my sister, and that was Linda Evans. And so she also got the part. So we were very happy to get that role. It was a wonderful role. Being kind of schooled by Barbara Stanwyck was wonderful. She was a very disciplinary actress, and if you learned anything from her, is it be on time and know your lines, hit your mark, and keep your mouth shut. After that, I did a couple of other series. Last year, The Virginian, and then Owen Marshall, Counselor at Law, was a lawyer series where I learned to tie a tie for the first time and wear a suit and say some big lawyer words. Then somewhere there, I think, came 6 Mil, and it took forever to get that off the ground. I know we did like 3 2-hour movies before we ever went to series. And then we did 3 after the series went off, which I remember doing one, it was about 1994 in Toronto. And we had a young girl there, an actress that nobody knew, and they were trying to maybe make her another Bionic woman. Anyway, that was Sandra Bullock. I thought that was very interesting. Nobody knew who Sandra Bullock was. And of course, Lindsay and I are still waiting for her to offer us a part in one of the films.
Can I say one thing about that?
After that,
I just want to add one thing about Sandra, is that when I thought she had such potential, and I was talking to the producers, and they said, well, ultimately, we aren't going to make a spin-out with her because the studio doesn't think she's good enough to carry a series.
We never told her that. Never told her that, though.
I know.
Anyway, then I went after, oh, I know, I was walking through an airport, and you know, I had that stigma, or that thing about being typecast, about $6 Million Man, and I ran into a producer who you might know, Glenn Larson, who probably created about 7 or 8 series on his own, Battlestar Magnum PI, and a bunch of others. He asked me if I wanted to do another show, and I said, yeah, I would. So we wrote this kind of thing about a bounty hunter who moonlights, well, he's a stuntman who moonlights as a bounty hunter. And we got that done, and the reason I wanted to do it is that this show went 5 years also. I wanted to do it so people would forget the $6 Million Man. And because, you know, if you're going...
How'd that work for you?
You're going to... That really worked well for me. You go through an airport and all you hear is... 5 years of Colt Seavers and the Fall Guy, and thinking that would, you know, but still, to this day, there you are. Most of you are 6 Mil fans, which, well, I'm happy for it. Thank you.
Next question. We have this side. There we go.
Hi. First of all, I want to say, Ms. Wagner, you were the one when I was a child that I looked at and wished I could be as beautiful as you were. I would have your picture up and strike from that. Mr. Majors, you have been part of my life. You were just kind of following up on what she said with all the different shows that you've done. My mom and I would watch them together. You were my mom's top man. Along with Tom Selleck.
Your mom's a 2-guy kind of woman.
I'm sorry, she just passed away a couple months ago, and seeing you makes me wish she could be here to see you. And I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for all you've done, and I did have a question. I didn't want to just tell you that. Of all the shows we've done, I know you really can't pick one that you like best in this crowd, but
For fear of being torn apart, is that what you're saying?
The Fall Guy was more my era. And I was wondering about the theme song, if they asked you to sing it or if you asked them if you could sing it, who made that final decision?
Well, and God bless you, and I'm sorry of your mother's passing. The song was written, and actually it had some different names because the song had been written maybe a year or two before, and so I kind of updated some of the lyrics with more active names that were hot at the time. And it boiled down to maybe having to do it mainly because it was singing about himself, Colt Sievers, so it just made sense to do it. And it was a #1 hit in Germany. You know, David Hasselhoff had a #1 hit in Germany. My favorite show really would probably, the one I enjoyed the most was probably The Fall Guy. Only because, as Lindsay can tell you, we did so much running and jumping and technical stuff dealing with the Bionics and other people who had also Bionics that were trying to do us in. So, and a lot of aircraft and stuff. So it was just a little bit more tedious work, and they ran my butt off. And so The Fall Guy was more to my character and personality, really, and it kind of was able to bring a little more humor into the show. And so it was a lot more fun to do. And I also had a little more influence on that show, so I could bring in some really wonderful guest stars and have some fun. Thank you.
Right over here.
Hey Lindsay, hey Lee, thanks for coming out. You guys are awesome. My question is, with the popularity of the $6 Million Man by Woman franchise game, you know, a lot of things for synergy, like, you know, I guess colored books and action figures. It's a two-part question. How did you feel when you first saw, like, these, if you're familiar with the action figures that are out there at the time when the show was going, like the Lego action figures and the $6 Million Man by Woman? And second, do you have any of these in your personal collection?
Well, I was told by the producers that there was somebody coming out to measure my face one day, and they'd be there just for an hour long, 15 minutes, and make a mask so that they could make this action figure. Well, they just called them dolls then. I don't think they really called them action figures at that time. It wasn't a
I
phenomenon.
refer to it as an action figure.
Yes. Yes, I do. You see, that's why you didn't want the dog either.
I had your doll. I don't know you had the action figure.
Okay, we'll stick with action figure. But they came out and they tediously measured every centimeter of my face and my nose and every curve and sculpture and thing. And it did not take 15 minutes. And then they put this nasty plaster on my face and made this mask. And then I guess and they came back and they brought the doll back to me for my approval of my likeness. And it looked exactly like Farrah.
I didn't have anything to do with it. Her own doll.
I couldn't believe it. I just looked. She didn't fit. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. I said, that doesn't look like me. And so they took it back and they tried it again. So I honestly don't know if there were any released of that batch, which I didn't approve. And they got a little closer next time, but it really, you know, could have been several other people, the doll. So that was an interesting journey. It was strange for me to see things being made other than, you know, photographs. I was a model, so it was normal. I mean, before I started acting, it was normal for me to see photographs of myself in different places and magazines and whatnot. That was not new for me. But the actual dolls and the thingies and the lunchbox, my favorite one's the lunchbox, by the way. That's my favorite thing. So I forgot the second part of the question, but that was kind of the first
That was
part.
good. No, I remember they showed the doll, and I said, okay, that's cool. Then, you didn't really know that they were doing other stuff. They never told you. In fact,
Never paid you
in
either.
fact, when we, this is my first Dragoncon, by the way. I don't do much of these shows. You see so much stuff, merchandising, coming across your table and you've never seen before. It still always amazes me of something that I never knew existed. In fact, there's so much out there. My wife goes on eBay every now and then and just looks, and we even buy stuff because we don't have it.
That was the second part. Yes, I have quite a bit of it actually now. Over the years, I've collected stuff. I'm trying to collect 2 of each thing for my children. I have 2 boys.
Next question.
Hello. I won't be too savvy, but you are 2 of my favorite people from my life. 'Cause at the age you came into it, the role you did, and what me and all the other kids played. And every time I see you on TV, it's still an excitement. Really enjoyed some of the stuff you've done lately, and with Raising Hope, I've really enjoyed that character. But the main question I wanted to ask Mr. Majors was, how did you react when they came up with the plot lines of, okay, now you're gonna go out in the woods and find Bigfoot and go into the ice tunnel? What kind of response did you have to that? Thank you. Thank you for being here too.
Thank you. Now, Bigfoot was one of a lot of people's favorite. It was one of my favorites. Andre the Giant, who was and I remember we'd be sitting and waiting. It'd be a very hot day, and they'd bring him a little cooler, and he'd pop open about 6 cans of beer, one right after the other, and then crush the can and throw it away. And I don't know how he did it. I never saw him go to the bathroom the entire day. I don't know how they had to check that suit.
I don't find that strange that you didn't see him go to the bathroom.
But I remember having a fight with him. I'll tell you real quick, he was out in the woods, and he had to pick me up, and he threw me about 10 yards, and then he had to come and run and leap and land on top of me. And we did the first part, and I'm waiting for the second part, and I knew I was just going to get crushed. And all of a sudden, the sun blacked out, and there he came down. I'm gritting my teeth, and he didn't touch me. And I'm going, wow, he is good. These wrestlers are, he was a professional wrestler. They really know how to do that. But he was a charming man. He was actually, he had a restaurant in France, and he just loved French cooking, and very gentle giant. God rest his soul.